What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to The Standard. Today I got one of my best friends and a longtime client, athlete, Gibson Berryhill. Man, I appreciate you being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yesterday we were just having coffee, had an interview that I just wanted to chat with you about before I went and did it. And then you and I were just talking deep, and I was like, man, we got to get on the podcast. So we just set it up and rolled today, man. How we doing?
Doing great. Yeah, I told Jaden when I got home, I said I got the invite onto the podcast, and she was less shocked than I was. Every time she was watching the clip, she asked why haven't I been on, and I guess she thinks I have more to say than I do. So I guess I have the right wife.
And she's, you guys are expecting?
Baby girl due in March. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's sure.
Yeah, not a secret.
Sweet.
Yeah, we named a menu item after it, so if I was still trying to keep it a secret, this was a bad time.
I love it.
Yeah.
So when did you and I meet?
I think you were training, or off the field just at large, was training at Timberline, and I was best friends with Jake Taylor. And I would just walk into the weight room, and you guys were working with the baseball team. And I always worked hard, and Jake and I always worked hard. Jake always worked smart, though. And I pretty much decided I'm going to do whatever Jake's doing. And we started going off the field together. I was training with all the baseball guys, so I think it was like me, Jake, Cody Riley, Augie.
The boys.
Yeah. It wasn't the most basketball-specific training. We did a lot of CrossFit back in the days. A lot of good
Wasn't
forearm
CrossFit, but that
action.
wasn't me either.
No, it wasn't you. No, I
training.
ended up getting passed off to you like 2 years later, and yeah, you had a different reputation. You were the mean guy, and then you became my best friend. But yeah, that was 7th grade, and trained with you guys all the way through my senior year in college. And I mean, even on a podcast, you could probably tell I'm not the most athletic guy, but it was off the field, and other gyms was pretty much where I lived. So all the other trainers, all the athletes were largely my family, kind of growing up through all that time.
I love it. And then you went in. You played basketball at CVI. Were you on the team that we got shut down when we were in?
No, that was the year
the
right
next
after
year.
me.
So
yeah.
you set the tone. So you helped build us.
Yeah.
And then you let Talon go win one without
exactly.
your boy.
Yeah, Talon was one of my greatest achievements at C of I. It was after my freshman year, and I had already got hit with the realization that college was way different and that I was way worse than I thought I was. So that summer, I worked really hard and got a lot better and effectively recruited my replacement. So I got better. I should have, thought I was going to have more playing time, and then I realized, man, I just did a really good job recruiting a guy that's way better than me. And that was kind of that was a bad joke, but yeah, we were friends.
Talon's a freak, man. And he's a boy.
He's amazing.
No, he's
most athletic guy I've ever been around.
He's up there. He's a stud. I don't know if I could say most. I'll let him know, but he's a stud, man. The reason I brought you on, and not a lot of everybody that listens to this might know who you are. The OGs do for sure. But your ability to impact others and serve others, like that's literally like our biggest thing that we preach here. And your whole life that I knew you, even when you were, and we can get into it, when you said you had an ego back in the day and when you're in high school and everything like that. But even then, the way you treated other people, the way you treated your teammates at C of I, being a captain but not even being the best player, like how hard that is. Even if the captain wasn't there, like you could tell you were one of the biggest leaders in the entire team. Now you're running a unbelievably successful business, taking it into new heights, teaching me things on that. And it's always been on how you treat others. And then even like your wife, you know what I mean, is an amazing human. You wouldn't got her if you didn't treat it like that. And that's why, like yesterday, I had a chance to I had a big day yesterday. I was like, oh man, I got to go talk with my boy Gibson, throw some ideas off him and hear your insights. So that's why I brought that on, or wanted to bring you on. You know what I mean? When you were younger, when was it living in the restaurant, or what was it that started getting you to, realize that, or did you ever realize that, or was that just a gift that you had?
I mean, yeah, it's an awkward question to answer, of course. Like, hey,
we can be confident on this. We can be confident on this.
But the truth is, I remember growing up and over again. I mean, you are when you're younger, you are what people tell you are. It's really hard to make up your mind on who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah.
You listen to what your parents tell you are. You listen to what your friends tell you are. What your coaches say, what your teammates say. And my grandma, Jackie, who we're naming our daughter after, she had passed when I was younger, and she was just an amazing, amazing person. I got to know her for a long time, but the amount of people I still meet that were in her classrooms that knew her and were doing art classes with her, she just had this amazing spirit about her. So our family would always say, it's the Jackie gene. You got the Jackie gene. And that was something that they would tell me early, all of the time. And it's not like I was a real turd as a kid at times. Like any other kid, I made plenty of mistakes all the way throughout high school, treated people poorly throughout the way. But even in the midst of that, it was always the Jackie gene, the Jackie gene, and this is how you treat people. So I had that set on me, like this is who we think you are, this is who we want you to be, and also your grandma who was that way, so be that. So even when I wasn't that, it was like be that. And then I also just had great examples too with my parents, whether it was in the restaurant, whether it was tagging along with my mom in real estate. They just have that same spirit where watching my dad on the floor at the restaurant doing cooking shows on TV, you just go, man, I want to make other people feel that way. So yeah, I mean, I was kind of in a perfect little, and being the only child, I was a spoiled kid. I had a lot of attention on me that
makes sense.
Yeah, I think it maybe makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Pops, man, I didn't know he was on cooking shows.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know him. He's one of the most bubbly, witty, just funny and engaging guys. And obviously with food and cooking, it's mixed with an insane knowledge and skill set. So a lot of times when you have that, you can be off-putting, and you can, like I can do it a lot of times, and you want to lead with comedy. You want to lead with something that's disarming. And you have to get to know the person to be like, wow, you are... like my dad, you are brilliant under all those jokes, under all that funny that you just made me feel so invited. You have this wealth of knowledge that you don't always lead with, but is nonetheless there, which is why he'd be on a cooking show. That's why people want to, he's got cookbooks and all this fun stuff.
Yeah, your dad was huge impact for Off the Field, man. He, obviously runs a successful restaurant, runs a great business. I had no idea what I was doing when running a business, you know what I mean? And anytime that I asked for help, and obviously running a business, like, I mean, he was at the restaurant all the time, but he was always willing to help. I mean, I literally can't count the times how many times he would pick up the phone, or I'd be sitting in your living room with him and I hanging out late until past midnight. Even your mom, you know what I mean? Both of them just teaching me how to go through the real estate things, the business side, treating people and everything like that. Like we'll get into it, but man, Johnny B is a man, dude. He's how much he's helped me is crazy.
Yeah.
You run the restaurant now. Well, John's just chilling now. He's being lazy and not doing anything yet. You can let him know I said that. But now that you're running a business, you know what I mean? When you came out of C of I, literally one of the smartest guys I've ever been around, could have went all different routes. Finances, he could have went, ministry. I know that was a thing that you were thinking about too. Could have done all these different things. Now that you're running the business, and I know it's something that you love, and I'm glad that you're doing that, selfishly for me, so I can keep going to bacon. But what's the 3 hardest things that you do right now running a business? Oh, yeah.
Great question. One, I would definitely say just getting out of my own way. I'm so lucky to be able to carry on my dad's legacy with the restaurant, and always, hopefully not always, but always right now, I feel this just a little chip on my shoulder. I mean, I know I didn't build the restaurant, and I know that the reason I've been given the opportunity to do it is not independent of me being my dad's son. So that chip on my shoulder kind of always sits there, and I think noticing that and getting out of my own way and doing the job the way that I would do if that wasn't the case is one of the hardest things. So we can go down rabbit holes with that, but I would just say getting out of my own head, getting out of my own way with a lot of decisions, and trying to act clear-minded is really important for me. 2, I just think the daily grind of a restaurant. I mean, we're open every single day, most days of the year, and it's game day every single day at 8 a.m. No matter what, it's game day, and that's not something you're used to. I mean, with school, you have 5 days a week, and then you have the weekend, and then you have summer with sports, you have a game coming up, you have your season, you have your off season. Having it be on season all of the time it's a tough balance to be able to. We were talking. I just got out of what I felt like was my busy season with the holidays. We ship our bacon all over, and it's really popular during Christmas. So that's just kind of the harvest for us. And it's a really cool time to be in the operations, doing it, cooking bacon, boxing bags, writing all the notes, doing all that stuff. But also, if I get caught on that hamster wheel of I'm always doing the operational stuff and I don't do what my dad's done so well, which is step outside the business and make the big, important, just thoughtful vision decisions, or just take time to ask questions, I think that's a really tough thing, because you grow up an athlete and you have so much worth built in just doing over and over and over again. I need to put in more hours. I need to work harder. I need to do this over and over. And it's really hard to step back and be like, am I working on the right stuff? Like if I spent a whole summer trying to learn how to dunk and then I get into my season, probably should have worked on my pivot. Yeah, a little shot fake here and there. But if you just keep going and you never take the time to ask those questions, you're going to get stuck. And then the third, I would just...
Hold on, so remember, you got the third one. But that daily grind that you said, though, and like how every day is game day.
Yeah.
And that pressure that comes with it. So yesterday I had, like, the College of Idaho last night, the football team, game away from the national championship. It's January, it's February now. It's easy to just get complacent or just, there's no pressure right now. We're literally working out with the facilities that we had where the turf, we just didn't get the turf yesterday. We're literally working out and running, and I'm out there by myself, and it's dark out. They're, literally the hardest working guys I've ever had. Best team I've had out there, and a huge part of it is because of the leadership and the seniors that have been through there now. And I literally am like, you guys don't understand the amount of, like, how hard you're working right now, and like you guys don't realize like how many people will ever do that in their life because they didn't play sports. And I see a lot of people that don't have that pressure, and in their daily life, like you don't have that in work, or you don't have that, and it's like, and I hate the cliche, like 9 to 5, or it's just like, hey, just kind of getting by, to where like zero fulfillment, zero things to push you. Like, I know that pressure is the hardest part, but would you be able to handle it without it? Like, would you enjoy it as much if it was just, if you were chilling every day and the money was rolling in, and would you just settle right there? How does
you know the answer to that question?
Yeah, but I think about that to myself all the time. Like sometimes in business with me, like I've talked about before, getting this building, we almost lost the building. That 30 days was like the craziest time ever, where we had a 30-day first right of refusal. Like I had 30 days to figure it out. There's no chance I should have been qualified to be able to buy this building, and I got told no by 8 banks. Literally the last bank told me to, hey, try this bank because they're brand new, and then the 9th bank approved me on day 28. I was literally thrown up on a Wednesday in the middle of the night because I thought we were losing a building, so we had nowhere to go. Got approved for it to be able to buy it, you know what I mean? And it was like how much work I got done in that pressure in there. And then afterwards, it's like I had it with them, and we were full with kids. It was that time of the year, and then it's like I just chilled for a little while. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, then I get the shakes, you know what I mean? And right now, with us trying to grow, with the staff that I have, and I know how hard they're pushing, it's like I'm feeling that pressure right now, you know what I mean? And sometimes in the past, it was always anxiety. It would make it, I think I would take it the wrong way. I'd be like, oh man, oh. Now I'm trying to like run at it. You know what I mean? And you and I talked about it. It doesn't always happen like that, but I almost like love it now. It's like, okay, now I got some now where am I going to go to next?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think with how long you've done it and how many times you've pushed through it, you now see that as that's positive feedback. It's not negative feedback. When you feel that intense pressure, you run towards it because you know that you thrive when you do that. Jaden always says it best for me. She says, action leads to more action, inaction leads to more inaction. And I know myself, if I don't have the carrot out in front of me, whether it's a real carrot and it's real pressure and real stakes, or whether I have to make it up. You watch The Last Dance and you see Michael Jordan make up these things that are getting him motivated. I am better when I am focused on something, when I feel some pressure.
Yeah.
Of course, that can go a little far, but you have that, knowing from when we first met each other almost 10 years ago to where you are now, if you would have looked at yourself now, you would be like, oh, so am I just hanging out now? Am I chilling? Do I not have any work to do? But you're constantly either having a real carrot and real pressure out in front of you, or you're creating it. Which I don't want to go to number 3 on my other question. What's that carrot for you right now? What's that thing that's just on your mind constantly, whether it's with the business, you're a father of 2, a husband. What is it that's getting Taylor's blood pumping every single day right now?
I wanted, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. I've only told a few people outside of this, but we're going to start, OTF Medical, to where we're going to do some of the therapy side of it, and I think that's going to help my long-term vision of us being able to impact the most people we possibly can. That could maybe take us out of the state or bring more people to this state. So we're trying to get our 3rd facility. Like, that's the carrot. But I think the thing that's getting my blood pressure pumping is how can I grow my guys? And a huge part of that right now is financially. And I'm lucky because most of my guys aren't very financially driven. Everything is about their kids. But we need to grow the business and really run our systems better, to where everything's dialed in, to where I can let these guys breathe, help these guys maybe get in to be able to buy their own home, to where they can do this for a career, to where these goals that we're setting, to where I can keep these guys forever. And literally that's what's on the whiteboard. I think that's what we're trying to do every day right now. You know what I mean? And keeping the athletes first. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's like, I mean, you know how it is. I mean, I trained you for 10 years, and you guys barely ever paid, besides you getting free breakfast, right? I used to train way too many people for free, and that's 100% on me because I didn't think about it, and there was no employees. Yeah. Now that I got people and lives, and now I'm my own kids, and then I'm paying for their insurance. My guys are old now, and they used to be young, and so paying for insurance and doing all that, it's like the business is good, guys are killing it, and we're doing good, and they're comfortable. But I want them to be more than comfortable. I want them to be absolute. Never want to leave here. And if they do leave here, do something that, that we help them get to, that's, stepping above beyond, And so that's, right now, I think that's the biggest pressure. This year, it's I'm not really trying to hire any other guys. I got one position open. We got a guy that we think we'll bring in. But it's like, how can I do everything I possibly can for these guys? And that pressure to me is like, all the other goals meet that, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And the number one goal is that growth of off the field that we've been talking about. And it's, if I don't take care of my employees, then it doesn't matter. Yeah. So that's the blood pressure right now.
Well, obviously it's different when we're talking on a podcast. It's the stuff we talk about normally when we're having coffee, but I feel like it can be that topic of what's getting your blood pumping, paying my guys better, making more money. Feels like it's off limits to talk about a lot of times, or like put as your mission statement, because it feels you can't separate the two. You
Especially
can't be people driven and
non-financially
driven, because it's every time you get on the plane, it's put your mask on before you put on the others. If you were still training the way that you were training and I wasn't paying, there would be no more off the field. You guys wouldn't be able to serve the people the way that you do. If guys are leaving for other reasons than you just talked about, like when there's JT leaving, that's a way different situation to go and chase your dream job and climb that ladder, rather than, hey, Taylor, I'm not working here because it's just not penciling for me.
Right.
I really want to do the work. I'm really passionate about it, but I can't take this much on. And it's your job to clear the way to make sure that you can keep. I just walked in and got some of the most amazing hugs and fist bumps and excitement. And that's never changed with off the field. I remember that was one of your biggest worries as you talked about, like, a new location here. Can we do another location here? OTF Medical. How do you replicate the feeling of when you walk into OTF, Taylor's there to just scream and yell and affirm your socks off? You are going to feel like the most important person in the world, whether you're an NFL player or whether you're a sixth grader that, is not going to be an NFL player. Right. You make everybody feel so special. It's just cool that you can already see that. I haven't been here in so long. That's being replicated through guys that have been here for a long time. And just saw Ben Ruby in here. He's been here for hardly a cup of coffee, and he's already been that guy. But clearly that's in the culture. That's in the water that you guys are drinking. You got to keep those guys. So Obviously that's what you're doing.
Let's go back to your third one. What's the third one now?
Well, I forgot it. I'll make up a new one.
Three biggest things that stress you at work, or the biggest thing that hardest things at work.
I think, well, we'll play off what I just talked about with you. You can look at all of the places that you admire. Off the field is one of the ones that I admire, and I so much admire you and the way that you lead off the field. You are in the flesh with your team, with your teams, with your staff, with everybody. You are in the flesh. It's so easy to bury myself in the office and think that work is so important, which a lot of it is. It is important, and it's important that my dad and I do certain stuff that's separate from running food and being on the register and being out with guests. However, the whole reason I ever wanted to do the restaurant, the whole reason my dad ever started the restaurant was an unbelievable love for people. So I think that's one of the difficulties, is not allowing the stress of business to take you so far away from why you even got into it in the first place. And that stress is always real, again, because it is, if you don't do those things, you don't get the opportunity to do the stuff that you really love. But also it's so easy to get in your head and puff up all of this stuff and put yourself in an ivory tower. Like, no, sorry, I can't go see them. Right. You sent me the picture yesterday, and I was in the middle of something that I would deem important, and there was nothing more important than going and spending time with you. And I have to make that decision every single day. And a lot of times I will choose to go into my cave, be on my computer, get the work done, and not go do the stuff that really fills me up, because it does really bring me a lot of energy to be with our guests, to be with our staff, just be with good people, and not allowing it to just turn into another job and a set of to-do lists. It's not why I chose to get into it. It's not why my dad started it, and it's not why I'm not gonna be able to do that for the rest of my life. That would kill me.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest hurdles that I have. The reason why I love coaching more than anything else. I want to be known as Coach T. You know what I mean? When I die, I want people to know that. And when I coach, I don't know how much the business grows. Mm-hmm. So right now we have the pro guys back, who are, most of them are like my best friends. We have the pro day guys. You know what I mean? I have two high school football teams are like two of my favorite teams I've ever coached in high school. You know what I mean? And then C of I and stuff, and it's like, that I love, but then I'll go focus on that, and then it's the same thing. Like I said, that's not a lot of pressure for me. Like that's what I love, and then it's like, okay, then the business is chilling. Then hey, where are we at with this? Hey, Cherry, where are we at with this? You know what I mean? And then so it's and then now I have a wife and two kids. You know what I mean? So I don't sleep here anymore. Yeah. That's the hardest part. You know what I mean? And but again, it's that pressure. It's it's figuring out how to balance that. I think I have the right guys to where, if I do let them coach some of the guys that I have, the pro day guys are working with me and two of my other guys right now, Travis and Ethan, absolutely killing it. You know what I mean? And everybody I have on staff could kill it. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's been huge. But that, one of the biggest things, it might even have been from your dad, maybe Kaleo, but the most important person is the person in front of you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's right, but that does take away from other things. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when there's somebody in the gym, I do feel like shit sometimes, where it's like they walked in and I barely gave them the time of day, and I used to go hug them, and I'm like, it's weird. It's like middle of the night, I'll wake up and be like, man, Gibson walked in to work out, and all I did was gave him one of these and walked by like I was busy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's not who we are. You know what I mean? And so trying to make sure that we do. And then if I do that, then my guys, you're going to follow what you see. Yeah. And it's, and that's a crazy hard thing with business.
That stuff, you've shaped me in this so much, is you've shared a lot of your daily disciplines, or your non-negotiables. Like, this is what I'm going to do every single day. I remember one of them was from Coach Pete about your check-ins with your managers or just your main guys. Can you talk about, because I can think of mine, of these are things that the people are so important, and I need to commit to, I am going to do this every single day or every single week. What are those? And those could even span into the home, what you're doing with Ari and with the kids. These are things that, because you're going to be pulled in different directions, and sometimes you can either spend all of your time just chit-chatting all day in the gym, or you could spend all of your time buried in the office. How do you...
The one you're talking about is the daily 10-minute one-on-ones, and that's a Steve Marlowe deal. And, he shaped it a little bit from Hawkins and Pete. But It's an absolute game changer. It almost, and it's one of those ones that frustrates you. Like, if you were doing it, how much farther would you be? You know what I mean? And it's like, that is the one that it needs to happen all the time. The one unique thing about our business is, like, we're all at different schools. There's not every day we're all in this gym at the exact same time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I talk with Augie probably every day. But me doing a one-on-one with everybody, like, I've tried to do that, and then it's just like, I'm just full of shit. Then it's like, Cherry knows, hey, we had this Monday meeting, but Taylor's going to be busy that day, and he's not going to, you know what I mean? And it's where we kind of lost that. So I would say the last couple months, what I've been doing is meeting with every one of my guys individually. We meet with the whole staff every single Monday, and then every one of my guys individually at least once a week. And we're always building on things. I want to make sure that I'm, like, open to, like, if they need to call me or do anything like that. But those meetings, like, and I act like I have all these employees. I'm like, some people have thousands of employees, you know what I mean? And I barely have double digits. But, like, even just meeting with somebody for 10 minutes a day, or which turns into 20, and then, 10 people, it turns into a whole day, you know what I mean? And where it's like, I don't feel like I'm giving them everything I got. So I try to dedicate, like, where it's like one day a week, I'm meeting with them. We have daily action items, you know what I mean? That, when we do that, everything grows. The communication's through the roof. I think that's probably the biggest thing, now that I just said it. But, like, if you don't communicate, or we're assuming, or I think they're doing okay, like, they could be putting on a facade, or vice versa. I don't think they're doing good, but they're loving it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. A simple conversation gets you that answer really, really fast, you know what I mean? And then, like you're saying, the winter is the busiest for us too. Right now, the spring is always hard for us, because right now February is crazy full. Tryouts happened the last week of February, and it's literally like all of a sudden that Monday, bam, nobody's here because everybody had tryouts, and now my guys aren't full. And it's because so many teams are playing, and all our teams, then now they're starting. And so today, our big meeting is like, okay, how many openings we got? Where are we at? How do we ask referrals? How do we do this? And my guys hate the sales process, but it's something that we have to do, again, to go back to the financial pieces, you know what I mean? And there's systems in place that I've tried to make that a lot better. But that the number one thing that I want to do every day is those meetings. And to me, it's like, I got to meet with Augie and Canyon, which I should definitely meet with them more, and then meet with my whole staff at least once a week. And again, that's not like simple conversation. That's like just one-on-one, just us. Yeah. Another non-negotiable, like, I'm just thinking, like, with something that we do in here. It's something I've been thinking about too, because we've had different employees and different things like that. But it's like that we can never have a bad day in front of our kids. Like, we're not allowed to do that. Some people will drive from, luckily we have an East Boise spot, but people would drive from Surprise Valley and come all the way here, and they'd have it on Tuesday, Thursday nights, and it's like on their fridge, it's OTF night, and they come in, and we had a bad day, and it's whatever, and it's here, and then that session is like a no experience or a bad experience. We can't do that to those kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, like, that's where some people, Mountain View's one of their assistant coaches was like, man, you always have that juice. And it's like, that day I was sauced. I was exhausted. Mm-hmm. But I just trained myself so many times where it's like, you walk in that weight room and bam, it changes. And you watch my guys out here, every one of them, the exact same. You know what I mean? Like, where no matter what's going on in our life, when we walk out of the door, we're here. We still try to be, personable, vulnerable, to where they can get to know us and we're there. But, like, we have to be the juice, especially in the strength world. You know what I mean? It's like, being emotional is a sign of weakness on the front side. Yeah. Maybe it's not, on the back side, but at least, like, first appearance, it is. You know what I mean? And whether we like that or not, but it is. And for us in the weight room, and us trying to push people to be better, and us, like, us not having our shit together, you know what I mean, doesn't help with these kids. And so those are a couple of things, where I'm trying to be in front of my coaches. I have to do the same thing, you know what I mean, where I try not to show all my emotions on my sleeve, which is usually how I am. You know what I mean? People can tell right away, you know what I mean, if I'm upset with you or something like that. So trying to do that with my coaches every single day. But those are probably the two biggest non-negotiables that we have. You know what I mean? We have to communicate as much as we possibly can, and then we have to put the kids first, so we can't have a bad day. Like, everything's got to be about them. They're investing a lot of time, financially. We gotta give them everything that we got, always. That's our guarantee. Our only guarantee is that we're going to give every athlete we have everything we have, all the time.
I remember at College of Idaho, I don't remember if it was Coach Carson or Coach Blaine, but they were talking about Manny Morgan, who's now one of the assistant coaches for C of I basketball, and he would come in to the pre-practice huddle, and he would just scream enthusiasm. And Manny was kind of known as just the Energizer Bunny. He always had a smile on his face. But they had brought it up and talked about it as a lesson of, like, even fake energy is good energy. You have to get something started.
Momentum.
Momentum over and over and over again. And that clicked with me in basketball, and it clicked with me even more in business. I mean, we start at 8 a.m., which is not that early. I get up very early, and usually I'm pretty ready by 8 a.m. Some of our team, or even some of our guests, you just rolled out of bed. You haven't had your cup of coffee. You haven't splashed any cold water on your face. And I can have big, youth pastor energy. Like, I'm screaming at you to jump on the bouncy slide, and we're running around, and I can really, at times it's annoying. Like, people would look at Manny and be like, dude, it's 6 a.m. Chill out. But slowly but surely you do it. 'Cause obviously I don't feel it every day, but you do it. It's every single fist bump, every single person. It is the loudest, most chipper good morning you could ever give. It's why Dutch Bros is amazing. I'm a big coffee guy. Guess where I don't go for coffee?
Never.
Dutch Bros.
Ugh.
But shout out Dutch Bros. Their energy is amazing. You go there not just for the caffeine. You get a dopamine hit every single time. And people make fun of it, but it's real. It is such a different experience to walk into a gym, and you can have the best trainer in the world. You are not going to grow the same way that you would if that trainer also, of course, had the same people skills, or they could just juice you up a little bit. You're, of course, in this world, so I'm not just going to plaster it onto training too. But for food, what we believe is, I think our food's really stinking good. I can say that usually confidently and not feel terribly biased, because I'm not the one that made the menu. My dad's the genius behind it, so that's just me saying my dad is a chef, and the rest of our chefs, they're awesome. My side, where I focus more on, is the front of the house, where we are the ones serving the food. Think about all of your favorite meals throughout your whole life. It's usually less about the actual food. It's about who served it to you, where were you, who were you with, and all of that stuff surrounding the food. Even just, how did the server smell? How'd they look? Did it look like they cared to be here? Was their shirt completely untucked? When you got to the table, was there crumbs everywhere?
The experience.
You first clear the way so that they can just focus on the food and the people, and then you do all of the things to make sure that that experience is special. I think back on all my favorite meals, and most of them had nothing to do with the food. It was, you love mom's cooking because you love your mom. I have such a soft spot for tortellini, because my mom made me tortellini all the time. I would never touch tortellini anymore, but I just love tortellini because I love my mom. In the restaurant, our food is awesome, but it is going to taste like not awesome if, when I serve it, I have a big frown on my face, or I just drop it off and go, here's your bacon and eggs. Peace.
Later.
And it could be quite just an absolute gift from God, this bacon and eggs, so amazing. But that person's not going to experience that bacon and eggs the same way that if they were at IHOP, and let's say the plate was not as special. Or I'm taking shots at Dutch Bros and IHOP right now. And we serve it, but the waiter is just so kind and so loving, and you have to do something to satisfy the soul of somebody, because they eat with their stomach and they eat with their soul. And it's the same thing for you guys. You can have somebody on the most amazing training plan and diet, but if they're not convicted that Taylor cares for me, and that's a place that I want to show up 5 days a week, and I'm going to stick to this diet plan, and I'm going to work my butt off in there, the program only goes so far. The teaching only goes so far. You have to capture something in here too, to actually make them want to do it, which is something that you guys just do so incredibly well.
I love it. The passion you have, obviously, is the reason why you're going to be successful. You, even in college, and now thinking about you running the business, like, the business was already killing it. You know what I mean? But not to the level that you wanted. What goals do you have now? And then I want to kind of get, this is where a big reason why I wanted to bring you on too, is like that technical and tactical side of it. Like, part of it is just action. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But, like, talk to me about your distribution goal and what you're trying to do there. And, what does it look like to reverse map that there? You know what I mean? Because right now I have some goals too, and sometimes it's like, it's easy to have 16 different goals, but if you don't have a clear vision or you don't have a clear roadmap to it, you know what I mean, you make zero progress. You know, and then I've had these conversations, especially right now, with a lot of my guys that are just finished their senior year season of college and football, and it's like they have no idea what they're going to do now. You know what I mean? And trying to help them create their own vision and figure that out. You know what I mean? What got you there, and what are you working on right now? And then how can we maybe break some of that down and help me with that too?
Yeah. So when I had finally come to the realization that all I want to do with my life is go into the restaurant, work with my dad, work together, and also kind of work on this transition process where he's handing stuff off and I'm taking things over. One of the first decisions we made was we thought we were going to replicate. We thought, 2, 3, 5, 10, all of these. We've bought every domain under the sun. If you look up, I own every single domain that says bacon in any other city. My dad went nuts. We own them all. We thought we were going to be everywhere. But we decided, we said, we think we have something super special in Boise, in our specific spot, with our specific concept, and especially with our team. We have an amazing management team, and we have the gift of being able to be in there in the flesh every single day. So we said, let's not drown that out. We could so easily drown that out by putting another store in Salt Lake, Spokane, anywhere. It's different to be in Eagle, and you can drive there or walk there, but let's just focus on one store. So now that's a limiting factor. We're not going to grow by doing another store. But we want to, and we have to grow. Out of that, we found, okay, well, you've been cooking Berryhill bacon for 30 years, Dad. What could we do with that? And we were like, well, we can sell it, ship it all over the country, whatever. And we find that the majority of our customers that were coming in, this was kind of COVID time, and Boise was getting a lot more popular. The majority of our customers were scattered all over the country. They were first timers, and they weren't coming back because they were in New York, California, Florida. So we thought, just like you come in and you have an experience. You're with your friends in Boise. You had Francine serve you. You had Phil shouting through the line like, whatever, I love your hat. Great, thanks. Now I'm going to enjoy this burrito way more. You had this real experience. You're in our tasting room, and now you go back home. How do we still serve you? We're not Apple. We're not Microsoft or anything, but there's never been a bacon bag, and it's fully cooked Berryhill bacon. The bacon's amazing. It's never been served in the bag like that. It's delicious. It's been a really popular gift.
I think I've ate 20 pieces in one sitting before.
Yeah. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't stop.
We love it. The getting there now to answer your question, what we want to do is it's weird. Like I never liked the word customer or guest because we're still at a level and involved enough where I can just tell you all the names of our customers and guests. Like we like to just actually refer to them by name. We want to serve people bacon. Our mission statement is we don't serve bacon, we serve people, bacon. We want to serve people, and we happen to serve bacon. We have a product that we think is unique. We know people love it. It's grown rapidly. It's an absolute blast. We get to have relationships with people all over the country through just shipping them our product. There's a lot of opportunity, but we do not. Our first priority is the customer. So whatever we do from here as we grow, every single decision is how do we love Sarah from Minnesota? How do we make sure that every single time her order is it's got the handwritten note, and it's not just your random, hey, thanks for ordering bacon, Sarah. Have a good day. But something clear and specific, and we remember her story. We remember what bacon she likes. We're sending her all of our new flavors. We remember Robert from Arizona. We remember the thousands of customers that we have all over the country that they still feel like they're being served by the person that served them at Bacon. Because it's very easy. There are all the tools to grow today. You know that. You have 1,000 different ways that you could grow. It's really hard to grow and still keep a brand that my dad's built for 30 years and still have people get bacon thousands of miles away and feel like it's not just a product that you can get on the shelves. So that's all to say there's a ton of potential in what we're doing, but we're not going to make decisions that outpace our ability to serve our customers in the ways that we've been doing in the restaurant for longer than I've been alive.
So maybe I'll help you out. What's your vision right now? What are you doing in 24?
In 24.
What are we doing? So that was broad.
Yeah.
I've been there. That's broad. You got to serve those people. How do you scale that? What are you scaling to? What's Bacon doing this year?
We still have the gift of being able to be flexible and small. So actually right now what we're doing is we're gathering as much information as possible.
Love it.
We are still trying to learn who our customer is. We are still trying to find new ways, find new avenues to sell bacon and just see what works. A lot of what we're doing this year is just kind of building a foundation to get our ducks in a row that we live in a world where if you have a product that you sell online, Kim Kardashian, maybe she sees this clip and she orders some. If she posts a picture of your product,
you're winning.
Yeah, I mean, you can't build a business hoping to do that, but you have to build knowing that growth happens rapidly. We've experienced really good, predictable growth that we've been able to scale with. It could stop, or it could just bury us. So right now we're doing a bunch of food science stuff that would probably bore you and listeners don't want to hear, but we are working with really cool companies to do stuff with bacon that's never been done before. And again, I'm not going to cite to you federal code of regulations from the USDA, but it's really fun stuff for me. But we're building the foundation to make sure that when decisions to grow even further come, we have our feet under us and we're not having to go back and do work that we should have been doing years ago, that we have a product that's just ready to grow. So yeah, kind of both of those. We're doing a lot of learning about our customer, and we're doing a lot of learning and evolution with our product because the product just doesn't exist. So we got to kind of pave the way.
I love it. The only thing I'm upset about is you didn't bring any bacon today. Now we've been talking about it so much.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Working with your dad, working with people, and one thing I'm always working on with my kids is like we have some kids that have an upbringing similar to yours. Pretty successful parents, have a chance to do some good things, and they waste it. Others capitalize on it like you. Other ones, didn't have much of an opportunity, figured out how to create and make their own path and make their own opportunity. You know what I mean? And then others use the victim mentality like you and I talk about, which is like one of the biggest things that I can't stand, where it's poor me or it's not my fault. You know what I mean? Where we have both of those, How is it working with your dad? Why you could have just settled. You could have went and got an easy job. Dad might be able to sell the business one day. Mom is an absolute assassin in real estate too. You know what I mean? Like you could have done all these things, but like you're still working to that level. What made you want to do that? And then where do you think, that competitiveness, that non-victim mentality, comes from? You know what I mean? And how, thinking about the kids that you could relate with, because I know there's guys you played with too, I can think of off the top of my head. Great people, but chilling. Or it's like, oh man, I would have been there if it was this. You know what I mean? Even me, I would have done this if, partner wouldn't have done this, or, I would have had this, or we weren't in Idaho. You know what I mean? It's easy to have that mentality. I've never heard you ever use that victim mentality,
Yeah, it's really, nature versus nurture. It's really hard to look yourself in the mirror and think, why am I the way that I am? I actually learn a lot about it being married to Jaden, because she is a killer. And I think what we've noticed about each other is it's not for everybody else. We like to make things. We like to build things. We like to do. And like so many other things that could go in the wrong direction, we're about to be parents, and we spend most of our date nights talking about how can we slow down? How can we be more thoughtful? How can we do multiple things at once and make sure that the top priority, the main thing, is still the main thing? Watching her, I think what I see more about myself is it's never, ever been about the outcome. I chose to play basketball. I was playing every sport under the sun. I chose to play basketball. I did like basketball, but I loved that it could just be me and the ball and a hoop, and that's how I could get better. I never had that feeling with other bigger team sports. I always felt like practice was the only place that I was getting better, or to be honest, I never really fell in love with the weight room. I still lift every day, but I never fell in love with that.
Yep.
Basketball was something where I felt like this is something that I can do every single day, and the outcome really doesn't matter. I love doing this, and I love just working at it. Both Jaden and I are now retired in our sports careers, and we've never worked harder in the gym.
Huh?
She's 36 weeks pregnant, and she's up before me every single morning. We're usually up at 4, and she's cycling and running and going to Orange Theory and lifting, and only doing it because she loves it. She wants her body to feel good. She wants her house to be in order. She knows that all of those decisions that she makes, it's like that book, the Make Your Bed, like the first decision you make is going to have
an
impact further beyond that. And because you just do it. I mean, it's usually such a simple, silly answer, but okay, why do you do all these things? Jaden, why do you eat this way? Jaden, why do you work out like this? Gibson, why do you do that? There's not like a big philosophy behind it. It's people that I trust told me to do it. Doing all of that stuff then kind of clears the way to be able to do stuff you love. And again, the stuff I love is I love the feeling of getting to talk about story. So when I decided that I wanted to go into bacon, that decision was, I loved business because building things and thinking about, it could be any business. We happened to be, my dad happened to have a restaurant, and we happened to have a product that was bacon. And
I love him because he reminds me of, sorry to interrupt, but he was a food guy.
Yeah.
And I was an athletic guy, and then he learned how to run a business.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
So we could be selling socks. We could be training. We could do.
He's a big foot guy too.
Yeah, he's got great footwear. Yeah, he was on the Hoka train way before anybody else. But just the idea of business, especially if you get the opportunity to run it, and again, that opportunity was just handed to me, and I was so lucky that I almost didn't say yes to it, and I'm so happy I did. To be able to grow and mold that, and then also be able to have that exist with like everything you do here really matters and how you love people. Well, all of that other stuff around it, the workouts, the diet, the bedtime, the community that you keep outside of it, the mental health practices, your spirituality, all of that highly influences everything else. And I really care about all of that stuff, which is why I do all of this stuff.
Yep.
And with basketball, I don't know why I was so obsessed with it. All I knew is it gave me a lot of worth. It mattered to me that it was the same thing as my parents saying, you have the Jackie gene. Once they put that on me, now I'm going to hold that for dear life. I want to live that out. I want to be special. I want to do something important. As soon as we're in 7th grade, and I'm now the kid that's there before practice and after practice, and I was on the C team, and then eventually worked up to the A team with all the guys who had been playing so much longer and were so much better. I really held on to, like, as a piece of my identity that eventually, grew into a healthier part. That's the same thing Jaden had. You hold on to the things that give you worth, and that was something that gave me worth, and it still does. I do take a lot of pride in being a little excessive. I did an Ironman for the fun of it. There was no other reason. I finished the Ironman, and I couldn't have felt any more normal. I said, okay, when's the next one? Because that was really fun to train for.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, I know you're the same way. It's really enjoyable to do things.
I think, we're both young, but the wife, the counterpart, like the fact that she has such a big influence on you too, you know what I mean? You are who you surround yourself with. Like, my business has grown so much because of my wife, you know what I mean? Which has been huge, super lucky. I got to thank you too. I don't know if you remember, but the day I moved out, or I guess I lied, the day that you got out of school and your parents kicked me out of your house, That was as I'm moving out, that's the day I met my wife. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you guys, Amy and John always take credit for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy how I was living there.
Yeah.
We were at the old spot, right?
Yep.
And then I had like my laundry back there or whatever, and then you just called your mom, and you and I told you, no, I'm good, man. I'll figure it out. And then your mom just called me and said, hey, we have a place for you to stay. And I had a little 1-bedroom, the casita, man, in Boise. It was the coolest thing ever.
You made me think of this, and it draws to the same line. So many people ask, how you doing? How are you? Good. Okay, sweet. Something my family would always do, and something I think that just my friend group, like Shaston and Christian, also guys that would come to OTF, being with people that actually care about the answer to the how are you doing, that moment of you and I at that time, that was one of the first times I remember, like, I really actually did care because I cared about you so much, and I looked up to you. So it's weird, like, hey, we have an extra spot at the house. Do you want to take it? It so easily could have been, hey, you want to come here? No, I'm good. Okay, sweet. Your guys have that gift. You have that gift. I guess it just popped to me as just an encouragement to make sure that you're somebody that asks the question 10 times over, because it's very easy to do 10-minute check-ins. It's very easy for me to go walk around to all of our staff every day and do fist bumps and never, ever check in. And you think that you're caring for people. You think that you ask the right questions, and you never ask the second question. And I've been a lot of my best friends have worked for you, and you're somebody that asks the second and third and fourth and fifth time because
I don't know
over and over.
That's a heavy hitter to me. I don't feel like that. I mean, the fact you're bringing it up, I've never thought about it, but I don't. Just thinking about it, I don't feel like that I do that enough now. Like, you do that. I think that maybe when I ask, it's a little. I'm pretty loud, so maybe it forces you to kind of tell me, but I don't think I check in as much as I should. Especially just thinking about with my athletes that I'm really close with, or my staff that I know really well. So that's a huge one for me. That's why, again, every time I sit down with you, I learn something. But that's a good one. I'm going to bring that one to the staff. It's not the first time how you doing and then get it good. You know what I mean? How do you get more out of it? I think we're all good at reading people's body language. Everybody that I bring here, because I think you have to care to see that. So sometimes we do ask more, but I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Seriously, your family took me in, and I lived in that place, and before that was right before I bought this. Yeah. So I wouldn't have been able to do it without your parents and without you. You know what I mean? It's huge.
I don't know if this will be last question, but
no, you're good.
Okay.
No rush.
It fascinates me like College of Idaho basketball, just is always, actually the College of Idaho at large. We're both CFI grads. Go Yotes. It seems like it just spits out talent here and like all over the place. And for basketball specifically, you talk to Blaine, so much of that is recruiting. You have to bring in the right people. So for your staff, you are so diligent in hiring. The amount of calls that I've gotten from you for people that I've hardly even known, of just getting character references that they didn't put down on a paper, you will only bring in the right person. But even with your athletes, you don't get to choose the athletes all the time. But it seems like the community of people that have been through off the field. Of course, you have your pro athletes and college guys and so many people who have excelled on the field. It's tenfold for that of people who have spent significant time and off the field and are just crushing it in life. And you could see, I can point to so many of my friends who either worked here or I would work out with here, and you could see this direct line of who they were when they would train and now who they are in the world. Can you talk about like what is that one, some people just have it, but what is it that you guys are, what are you trying to get out of some of those kids? Like that shy kid who you just see he's got a dog in him and you're trying to pull it out, or that kid who works really hard but doesn't really think a lot, or yeah. I'll let you bring up the names,
Well,
but I can just think of so many people that you've
that's why I
nurtured
started
towards that.
So when I was younger, this is why I started it. Well, when I started coaching, I loved it, and I realized, okay, I'm probably not going to go into the medical field because I wanted to be around athletes. But in high school, literally, like, I was best friends with the best athletes. Like, we were all boys, and I was on the team, and I mean, started in multiple sports, whatever, but they were way better than me. You know what I mean? Like, not even close, as far as athleticism goes. And I'd watch a lot of them waste it. Now, not all of them. One of them's still my best friend to this day, you know what I mean, and hang out all the time. But a lot of them, again, great people, but I don't think they realized what they had. And it pissed me off because I was like, if I had that and I worked as hard as I do now, but I was in your body, like, could you imagine what I do or what I could do? So now when I started this, like, those were my favorite guys. You know what I mean? That's the probably the most famous athlete story, the Cody Riley story, where as a junior, he was an 8-hole hitter and he was undersized, and coach said he probably won't play college baseball next year. He's the best player in the state. You know what I mean? Played for 4 years and is the guy he is today. You know what I mean? But he had the ability to work, and I wanted to show him how much he could work. So that's why those guys were always my favorite. You know what I mean? And I had some of my best friends were more on the, the I don't know, the other side of the line, to where they would be maybe, partying or a little bit crazier, as some people would put it. You know what I mean? And I wasn't perfect by no means, but I would see them there, and I was like, I had the best parents in the world. You know what I mean? So I was trying to get them to show, like, hey, we can do this, but we can be good people. We can be here. You know what I mean? And I was trying to, find my line and find my balance, and I wish I would have found it way earlier. And so now when I see those kids, and some people are like, oh, that kid, oh yeah, he's good at football, but he's a piece of shit, or that girl, you know what I mean? She's crazy. She, this, and I'm like, there's, if they're playing a sport, there's some there. They have something that they want to do, and then we have the chance to impact them. Those are my favorite people. Even the NFL guys, like, I'm so lucky that every one of those guys, I don't have a superstar. Yeah. Maybe one, Sophia Huerta, and she's awesome. You would watch the way that she treated the girls here, but besides that, the other guys came from almost nothing too. You know what I mean? And I talk with them like they still aren't confident in all of their skills. So, like, there's a way to impact them there. Like, we all have our own insecurities, and trying to recognize that with our kids, is huge. And again, it's easy to gravitate towards the best athletes, but sometimes, like, the other ones, they have the biggest impact. And when I started, it was because of that. It was the guys like, hey, even if this guy, I'm just trying to get her to be able to start on varsity or play varsity. She won't play college. If I can get her there, that's huge. You know what I mean? And I thought it was all athletic, all athletics, but turns out it wasn't. You know what I mean? And I've said this before, but one of the biggest things I wish parents would call me and tell me is like, hey, my kid, you just made him so much faster. He's on varsity, or you just made him, he got the scholarship. But every mom and dad would call me and say, man, the confidence that Gibson has now, or like the confidence that Jake has, or whoever, you know what I mean? And like, they just think they're just killing it on the field now, or they think they're the best player on the team now. You know what I mean? It took me a few years and realized, okay, that's actually what I get the most enjoyment out of. And now it's like, okay, I'm talking to the guys because I actually see something in them, but it turns out they don't even see that yet. You know what I mean? And so that's what we try to do. And now almost all of my coaches that I have, we all played sports, and we all played at a decently high level, but we all had to work to get where we're at. None of them were just crazy good, talented. Maybe Ethan Christensen is the only one, and he might have had the most growth out of any employee I've ever had. Like, in high school, he was untouchable. I mean, he was a Gatorade Player of the Year as a junior. Gabe Hughes is a first-round draft pick. He was Gabe's ace. Gabe was a 2 to him, you know what I mean? And then he had these injuries, and then you could imagine the ego. Like, his whole identity was baseball, and losing that, you know what I mean? And now his impact, his faith, and how he talks with the kids, and how he, one of our Rocky parents comes up to us like, man, he's been working with a few of our boys. Like, we need him at Rocky. Like, you know what I mean? Just the impact and the change that he's had, you know what I mean? On even the crazy successful athletes, like him. Like, that is what it's worth. That's where the fulfillment comes from, and we're always trying to get better at the X's and O's and trying to be the best strength guy in the world. And all my guys, like, if you ask them to, like, their programming is blah, 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 blah. But what I see the most of them is, like, the relationship Wyatt has with his athletes. The relationships that Ethan's created in a short amount of time. Emmy's, Williams just started here. And the girls, how they talk with her and how their groups have grown. Hey, our team's done, but can we keep going? And can we do this? You know what I mean? It probably doesn't have to deal with everything that we're doing in here on the technical side of it. It's the relationship that we have. Robert Cherry, he was an athlete of ours, and wanted to create some videos for us. We needed some help, and then wanted to stay a part of us. He is a part of us. He's a huge part of us. And then it was like we just kept him in, and he was in the family. And it's a confidence thing is something him and I struggle with all the time, and we're trying to build that with him too. You know what I mean? And his work is unreal, and sometimes he doesn't even believe in that too. You know what I mean? So and then seeing the way he treats people now too, trying to build them up. So I think I don't know if I even answered your question, but that's what we do more than anything else.
Yeah.
Even at the highest level. Like I can think of an NFL guy I had, or even a Boise State guy I had. They wrote him off. I think he might have even been kicked off the team or suspended. Injuries, relationships, didn't get a break, was an absolute famous star athlete here. And just need to get out of his own way, like you said, to realize who he was and get back to work and do his thing. You know what I mean? We helped him come off his injury, but he was close. He was where he needed to be. It was more the confidence, and I mean, I think he might be their one of their best players this year. Yeah. And now even just hearing him talk, now the tone in his voice and hearing like that, you know what I mean? It's just like little things like that I think anybody has way more than they can see. Like some of my football teams, because that's who I train most of the time. This is my biggest struggle is like I sit back and watch, and we teach so much on the technical side, but eventually it's like I barely even have to coach, and I'm watching them get after it. But I don't even think they realize how much work they're putting in, and also how much more work you can put in. Like you said, now how much harder you worked. You thought you worked harder than anybody in basketball, but you work way harder now. Like we had more in us, and trying to get them to realize that and realize the opportunity that they've created for themselves and capitalize on it. Because I didn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I know other athletes didn't. Some of my favorite guys are the best athletes, but everybody hates them because they're assholes or they're this and they're that. And I'm trying to teach them dude, look at the influence you could have on everybody. If you don't need to be like this to have success, Kay Kalla, you said you just got a relationship with now that you guys are close now. He came on here, and the reason why he was a 5'10", undersized safety that started for 4 years, maybe 5 years with COVID, I don't remember, but his whole only job was to make every other player on his team better. And I'm like, I have kids like, oh man, Boise State won't sniff me, or see if I wants, whatever it is. And it's like, how are you making somebody else better? How are you doing this? And getting somebody to see that, I don't know if I wouldn't have saw it at 17. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was more mad at the guys next to me that were wasting their talent, and I'm like, F those guys. You know what I mean? And those guys are like, it's too easy. Coach is yelling at me. I don't give a shit. I'm going to be successful anyways. You know what I mean? So trying to close that gap. I talk about it all the time. But trying to narrow the gap for them to realize the ability that they have, the potential they have, the amount of work that you can actually put in, is huge. I think about in 10 years how much more work I'll be able to do. And I hyper focus on it. Like, well, okay, if I was 45, I'm not 35 yet, almost. But if I was 45, I would be doing this. Okay, how do I do that now? Like I think about it. Like, oh, I'm going to be able to do more work then. I should be able to do that right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think about that all the time. And so I try to put that on my kids. It's tough. Sometimes I feel like I just had 4 sessions with the kids and I preached the entire time. I'm just yelling at them the entire time about, you guys could do that. And I'm like, so there's some days where I want to say stuff and I don't. Other days where I do. Some kids text me. Some guys send me their goals. Sometimes it's like, hey, man, I want to get faster. Other guys send me a goal that's like a novel. And I'm like, okay, that guy, I know he's got it. Like, I'm going to lean on that guy as hard as we possibly can. And that's where, as we grow off the field, no matter what we do, like, we can't lose that side of it. Yeah. And that's, but the relationship's what build us too. So it helps on the growing side of it anyway. So that, when you're talking about us hiring the right people, I've hired the wrong people. I have. I've messed up, and getting rid of somebody or somebody leaving because we're not a good fit sucks. So now, it's about finding the right person, and the credentials are huge for me, but they're not number one. Number one is like, can you vibe with my staff? Can you vibe with us? Can we go hang out together? Can we go do something? And more importantly, can you have an impact on kids, and are you there for the kids? Because most of my guys, they could go get a sales position and do something like that and probably make more money financially, but you got to absolutely love this to work the hours that we do and deal with the stresses and stuff that we do.
Well, just with anything, if you want to have an impact on people, you have to do more. I think about
and I always I hyper focus, how can I do more?
Yeah.
I want to do more.
Every single coach and every single teacher, parent, I mean, they're just, even the most meek of them, that they were not like this with me, just laser focused, but they just did not stop working away at their passions. Like English teachers who I know when they went home, they like actually read my paper and actually gave me feedback and actually read through the books that we were reading 1,000 times and really thought that they were going to change my life, so that when they came into the classroom for an hour, they made sure I read and listened, because they thought they had something that actually mattered to me, and they were not going to waste their opportunity to give it to me. I think what I used to think with business, whether you're a trainer, we're
coaches,
a restaurant,
man, not trainers.
Sorry, whether you're a coach, yeah, that's a good distinction. Whether you're a coach, you're a trainer, you're a teacher, you're an accountant, whatever you do, you're a real estate agent. Jaden and I talk about this a ton when she was deciding to get into real estate. A lot of time it's flipped. It's, I do this, so now I have to care for people. And I'm a real estate agent, so I'm going to care for people for the sake of my role as a real estate agent, because if I care for more people, it's going to bring me in more business and I'm going to make more money and do good. It should be flipped. And for a lot of people, that's what they notice. Like, that's one of my favorite things, talking to my friends who are now in jobs that they're just so passionate about, and it has nothing to do with the actual title. They're an accountant. Most people go, oh, I'm an accountant, I do tax accounting. But they love their team, they love their clients, and they feel like they get to care for people, and they happen to be an accountant. I want to, that was the thing that I realized with the restaurant. My main focus, how can I care for people? How can I lead people? That felt like that was what I wanted to do. I happen to be doing that through a restaurant. And with coaching, all of that stuff is not for show. That's the main mission. You just happen to be a coach. Whether you were working as a barista at the drive-thru, or whether you were running your tax accounting firm, or whether you were selling T-shirts at the Saturday market, your main goal is the people. Your job is just whatever the avenue is on how you're going to care for them. I think everybody talks about generations this, generations that. The victim thing has always been a big one with ours. The other positive thing is there are so many people who are awakened to they can do something helpful, and they can care for people. They want to do something with their life that is for others. They don't want to just live a life that is simply, I'm going to go work my job, I'm going to make sure I'm good, I'm going to make sure my family's good, and that's all I'm going to do. There's so many people who are like, I want my whole life to be of service. And typically, at least this is where I was, you think the only way that you can serve is all of these buckets. I have to work in a nonprofit. I have to work in a church. I have to do some really low-end paying job that in the job description, it's, what do you do? I care for people. What is such a joy is finding people who, like Shaston. Shaston runs a solar distribution company. And he talks about things that I will never come to understand. And I try to listen to podcasts and read some books to try to understand what he's talking about, but it's all gibberish to me. All I know is he has a passion for clean energy and the way that it can help the world. And he has a passion for the clients he gets to work with and the team that he gets to lead. And he's just caring for people, and he's loving people, and he happens to be in solar.
You might have to have a conversation with me and Cherry. We might not agree with everything he says. No, I'm just kidding. Shaston's the man. No, I love Shaston, dude. He's awesome. No, but that's like a thing where it's so cheesy to kids and athletes, even my friends. You know what I mean? Even my friends that try to act tough, but they're like such great people, and I see the way they treat their family and their wives and me as a friend and other things. It's like being able to recognize that and see that. I don't think I would have saw that. You know what I mean? Like, I learned that from my parents, but I don't think they see that in themselves. It's just who they are. You know what I mean? But now seeing, like, okay, how can I grow the company? And, like, having to sit back and look at it, it's like, oh, that's it. That's it. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have that opportunity that I've had. And so that's what we got to keep going on.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you coming on. If you haven't been to Bacon, it's on 9th Street downtown. 9th Street? Yep. 9th Street. It's
Idaho.
Literally one of the best restaurants in Idaho, man. And Appreciate everything. You and your family, man. I love you, bro.
Love you too.
Thanks.
Thank you.